I'm Monica Shah. I'm a senior design principal here at Education Elements. So when we're thinking about risks to avoid in implementing personalized learning, we really want districts to think about key categories before really digging into the implementation to make sure that they're identifying any gaps that may already exist. So the first step would be thinking about a clear vision statement. And what the vision statement does is give kind of a North Star that everyone's working towards. It gives a clear understanding of where we're headed and how that's going to look in the classroom and at the school. Step 2 is connecting personalized learning to the district priorities and instructional language that's already in place. Something that we see walking into districts is that there are a lot of things going on, and it can be somewhat of an initiative overload. And so one of the things we want to think about in creating that clear vision is just making sure that we're aware of all the initiatives that are in place, all the work that's going on, and thinking about how personalized learning fits into that. So the third step is thinking about measures of success. So kind of like backwards planning, we want to make sure that we have in mind what we hope to gather, what is the end goal, and create benchmarks along the way. So step 4 is being able to monitor that progress as we continue on our journey. So as I mentioned with the measures of success, what that allows us to do is be able to be aware of when we're on track and understand what we need to do to support when we're not on track. The second risk that we want to avoid is thinking about curricular misalignment. So oftentimes there's already a curriculum in place and resources out there that teachers are using. And so we want to make sure when we bring in personalized learning that there's clear alignment to that curriculum. Part 1 is making sure that the new practices are in line with our current pedagogy. And so if there are departures from current pedagogy, then we want to make sure that there's a clear understanding of why we're shifting from that and why it's important for our students and our teachers. Part 2 is making sure that we involve curricular leads early in the process, both at the school level and the district level. And that's important because when they're left out of the conversation, they have a lot of the content knowledge that is necessary to identify gaps and help fill in those gaps and provide supports and help us understand the shifts that need to be made along the way. Part 3 is acknowledging realistic timelines for changes. So we want to make sure that as we're making these shifts in curriculum, that we're being realistic with how long that's going to take, and it's not going to happen overnight. That's just reality. So part 4 is articulating what teachers should be doing less and more. So with these shifts, teachers are going to want to know what that means for them in the classroom. So being really clear on what this looks like in the classroom, what we hope to see more of and what we hope to see less of. So part 5 would be to make sure that we're creating processes to ensure curriculum alignment in the classroom. So that could be, an example would be walkthroughs. And walkthroughs give us the opportunity to actually get into the classroom, see what's happening, and ensure that we're seeing what we want to see, and if not, making steps to address that. So we often come into districts and work with them to make these shifts that they want to see. But part of what we encourage is making sure that there's a level of capacity that if we were to step out of the work, they'd still be able to continue that without us. So step 1 would be to involve the principal in all of the key meetings. And that is a mistake that many make from the beginning, is we get teachers really excited about it and let them go, but without the principals leading the way, we lose some of that leadership in the work that we're doing. So along with that, step 2 would be to set clear expectations for the principals. And we want to make sure that the principals are aware of their role in this work and how they're going to support their teachers. So we don't want them delegating the work to APs or teacher leaders. We really want them to be involved and send a clear message that this is important. So step 3 would be to make sure that the school really owns the message of the importance of this work. Oftentimes they may want to delegate that work to us as the consultants or someone else, but it's really important that that message comes from them so that for teachers and community members and students, they understand where that message is coming from. So step 4 would be, on top of that school leadership that we're building, we also want to build capacity at the district level to be able to support the schools and teachers as they carry out this work. Step 5 would be making sure that there's a lot of players in this work. So we want to be really clear on the expectations of those roles and accountabilities that are held by the district, by the school, and by the teachers. So risk 4 would be starting with the wrong schools. Oftentimes districts begin work because they got a grant or because there's a particular push from a school, but we really want to make sure that we're starting with the right schools, those that are ready for the work and are going to put their best foot forward. So step 1 would be identifying school strengths. We want to start with the schools that are instructionally and culturally ready for this work. So step 2 is paying attention to the timing of the rollout. So is it best to start this at the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year? We want to really pay attention to the needs of the teachers and stay in tune with that. Step 3 would be being open to changing course when needed. So pay attention to your teachers, pay attention to the feedback that you're hearing, and be ready to change course as needed. So step 4 is being open to schools and teachers being in different places. You're going to see a different level of comfort from different schools, experience levels, and there may be people ready to go dive right in and others who need to step back a little bit and take a little bit of time. Risk number 5 would be under communication with stakeholders. We want to make sure we're being really clear in our message to all that are involved, from district staff to schools, teachers, students, and the community members. So one thing to keep in mind would be to create a strategic communication plan for each of the stakeholders involved. Being really clear on what the message is that we want to get out to those stakeholders and why it's important. Another thing to consider is that you're taking a spiraled approach. Oftentimes districts will go all out with their communication at the beginning of the year and be really clear, and then it kind of petters off. So we want to make sure there's a spiraled approach where we're constantly revisiting the message throughout the year. Another piece is to identify strong schools and teachers early in the process. So being able to highlight early successes can really do wonders on the buy-in for those that are a little bit more hesitant. And one final thing is to think about, how do we empower teachers to speak about the process? How do we get their voices to increase the buy-in for all that are involved? So I recognize we covered a lot of material here. So if you have any questions or would like to discuss further, please reach out. We'd love to chat.